Meanwhile, on the other side of London,
I got a phone call from APTN saying the entertainment schedule had been cancelled, and if I could make my way to Edgware Road. I found it a bit odd because I don't do news, and this was a news story. And I started turning off just before Tavistock Square because it was all chock-a-block there now. I started noticing a lot of police cars and fire trucks and just random cars with blue lights on that I'd never sort of seen before. As soon as I'd done the left, probably about 20 seconds, sort of going along slowly in the queue of traffic, I heard a really loud thud. I mean, it was a thud.
I heard a massive bang, and when I sort of looked up immediately, I just saw the windows blowing out and debris flying towards me, so I ran in the other direction.
It never sounds like what it does on telly or on films. It's a different sort of more crunchier noise. Doesn't sound real. It was so loud that I looked around because I thought it was a car parked up that had gone into another car or something, or it sounded like it was right next to me.
the final explosion was approximately 9:47 a.m. on a double-decker bus in Tavistock Square.
And then immediately after that, about 15 seconds after this, I think it was a Ford Focus, just sort of all black Ford Focus, completely curved the pavement. So he pretty much mounted the pavement there, and I think he nearly sort of clipped the edge of that entrance there. Never seen a car do that unless it was an accident. Went on the pavement, and these four policemen jumped out and ran towards Tavistock Square. I thought, my God, this is a bit odd, you know what I mean? I found it really odd because one of the policemen's hats fell off as he ran, and he didn't even bother to turn around and pick it up. So I thought, you know, it's something very serious.
The explosion ripped the roof off the top deck of the vehicle and destroyed the back of the bus. Witnesses reported seeing half a bus flying through the air.
I think these sort of situations are a test of character. It's whether you run and help, whether you run and hide, and I ran and hid, which I'm not very proud of, but I don't think they would have let me do anything anyway.
So I put my car on the pavement, went round the back, got the camera out, put the tape in quickly, just the camera and tape, and closed up and ran to the direction they ran to. I turned, and basically in front of me were sort of about 300 yards, 400 yards was the remaining parts of the remaining part of the bus with the roof all peeled off, and there were still people up on top. They were totally confused. They didn't know what was going on. They sort of bemused, in shock really. And it was a very thin cloud of smoke, really like misty. It was gone within like minutes as well. There were so many people running towards me and frightened that I just started recording anyway, and sort of looking around as I was recording already, and not looking through the eyepiece. I was like visually looking myself, and the camera's just sitting there and recording. And then I sort of realised and zoomed in and focused and done what, you know, cameramen do. I sort of filmed people getting off the bus with bits of flesh missing, blood everywhere. There was people hanging from the bus that were lifeless. It was just a really horrific scene, and then, you know, I saw the aftermath, and I think at the time I didn't believe what was going on. It was either I was waiting to see the film crews and the big HMI lights and you know, something like that would show to me that this is a film, and you know, they've closed off the street. But there wasn't. There was people running. There was panic. You could see people's faces were either in shock or they were like me, you know, not believing it. That's the main part that had body parts and stuff on, and blood, but I think when it hit home was when I saw this guy. I think it was one of the images that I still remember. Clean white shirt, trousers, and he was just lying flat on the floor. He had an arm missing and part of his legs missing. I don't know, but I think he was dead because there was no life there. And there was a guy that immediately came and sort of tended to him, but I don't think they could do much about it.
At the same time, on the other side of Tavistock Square, Susanna was following other fleeing commuters.
Ran into the Hilton Hotel. They were sort of welcoming people in at this point because they knew something was going on and they wanted to get people off the streets. I kind of got funneled downstairs because they thought the basement would be better, and down in the basement there was the breakfast room. There were sort of various dazed people walking in, covered in dust like crying and desperately trying to use their mobile phones. I got quite scared because people were saying that it was a tourist bus that had exploded, and so I thought, oh, I've just run into a hotel, this isn't the best place to be if they're targeting tourists.
Within minutes, the police had surrounded the area around the number 30 bus. Louis was the first cameraman on scene to document the most shocking images of the aftermath.
Most cruisers were heading towards Edgware Road. Probably within 20 minutes, half hour, there was a cameraman that had turned up, I think ITN cameraman, that turned up, but he didn't get too much except the bus right in the far distance because the police had already cordoned off the street. Subsequently, that tape was taken off me at the time and sent to Scotland Yard and used for, you know, sort of evidence. I've never looked back over the tape. I know exactly what I filmed because it's one of those things that vividly stay in your mind, in your brain for a pretty long time. I think especially the images of the guy in the suit lying on the floor. It's a perfect white shirt and there wasn't a spot of blood on his shirt whatsoever, but the injuries he had, you'd think, you know, it was as if he'd been placed there.
It sort of felt like it was wartime or something because it felt like we were all loads of strangers were shut into this bomb shelter, hiding from the world and listening to this one little radio, and we were all crowded round trying to strain to hear it.
56 people were killed in the attacks, including the 4 suspected bombers, with 700 injured. The bombers were later identified by the London Metropolitan Police as being 30-year-old Mohammed Sadiq, 22-year-old Shehzad Tanweer, 19-year-old Jermaine Lindsay, and Hizab Hussain, who was just 18 years of age. Shocking information recently released explained how the attacks themselves cost as little as £600 to carry out.
So much politics goes on in hospitals. There's so much, I mean, it's St Mary's particularly at the moment where there's huge politics going on about where we sit in West London compared to the Hammersmith Hospital and Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. You know, are we going to be downgraded? What's going to happen? New building? All of that went completely out the window and became completely irrelevant during the course of that day, particularly, and for quite a while afterwards. And it really did help to clarify, in many ways, what life is all about.
Having a statement and making it like that, and hitting and injuring ordinary people is cowardly, I think, and you know, it's not justifying anything to do with the war. I just, you know, I don't, yeah, cowardly, I think is the word.
I tried to get back on the tube pretty much as soon as I could, which was probably 2 or 3 days after the bomb. Kind of, there was a pride in it, like everyone was like, we're not going to let them stop us living our lives, and that was the kind of whole attitude, so it felt, it was kind of scary but defiant.
You know, with everything, life goes on, so you crack on and keep those sort of horrible images that you've seen in the back of your head.